Hi everyone, I just wanted to let you know today we are going to start working with a mixed media, watercolor and pen and ink today, and that's going to be mixed media because we're going to combine the two different mediums, and we are going to start with our pen and then we're going to put the watercolor on top, and this is just going to be a simple project. You can take as long as you want with it, but basically just find something that inspires you. Today I'm going to use my mom's bike, so I think that'll be fun, but just something that inspires you, maybe out in nature, or maybe something that has to do with one of your hobbies would be good. And then if you can find a picture of it, that works really well. Or you can just kind of look at the object itself, or just come up with something in your mind and just easily sketch the lines, and then we will apply the watercolor. It'll look great. We are going to use a pen and also watercolors to paint this picture of her bike. So basically it's just kind of an abstract. So we're just going to start out with the picture of the bike, and then we're just going to work into the colors and everything, and I might even add some flowers into it. And this is supposed to look like a bit like a sketch. So you want to have the sketchy lines in there. And you can color in your dark areas. This is part of the wheel, so there's a bit of dark here going on. It's a bit of an abstract drawing, so just kind of get the feel of what's happening in the picture and where all the parts go and the shapes that you see. See a bit of a triangle going on here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Part of the idea of this pen sketch is that there's no erasing, and some imperfections and imperfect lines are left behind. So that just gives it some of its character. It's a good idea to pick a light source and then work in your dark colors where you want to see your shading and everything going. And you can use your pen to pick up some of the darker areas. And it can be a bit of a scribble. These ballpoint pens, the watercolor will flow right over them and usually will not smudge them. One of the fun things about being an artist is you can add whatever you want into the picture. So my mom had mentioned to me that she liked bikes that had baskets on the front of them and flowers and that kind of thing. So maybe I'll try to add some flowers, incorporate some flowers in this picture. So here we go. Why don't we just add a basket? Nothing too detailed. And we'll just have some basic flowers spilling out. That will look beautiful. Just the illusion of some flower stems here. And some not too precise flowers just kind of popping over. Notice that this wheel is a bit of an oval shape here going on. And we know wheels are circles, but this is the perspective I have of this bike. So this wheel is coming a bit towards me, and so it is not exactly a circle, it's more of an oval shape, and it kind of tapers out here at the bottom. A little bit darker on the inside. We just have some basic spokes. Now you don't have to draw every spoke, you can just give the idea of what's in there. Okay, so that's just an idea. It doesn't have to be the exact thing that's happening. You don't want to have to get every single little detail. And if you just keep in mind the basic idea of all the shapes you see, it should all come together. And it will come together pretty loosely. You'll notice this wheel is smaller than the front tire because he's further in the background, and so the perspective there adds to it. If you have something in the background that's smaller, the viewer's eye will be telling them that this is in the background, this is in the foreground. As an artist, you can take things out or leave things in, She does have a water bottle right there, but I think it might look better without it. Get a little more of a leisure kind of bicycle. And you can always come back and add more once your paint is dry, but do not try to add the pin marks over the wet paint because that can tear your page. All right, let's add the color. I've decided to start with the background this time, which is optional, and we're gonna just do what's called a wash. So right now, I'm just adding some water all over the page, but not right where the subject is. So we'll get the page a bit wet, but not terribly soaked, and get kind of close in there. If you don't go right up to your subject, then there's a less chance of it all bleeding together. So I go kind of close, and then I usually just kind of leave space around the subject a little bit. I think I'm just going to start with a basic taupe, kind of grayish color, and then add some different colors and blend it in. Just a really kind of basic background here, just to get some color on the page. I really want the bicycle to pop, so I don't want to add too many colors that might contrast what we put into the bike. The bike is blue, and then we'll be adding some colors for the flowers and the stems. And as an artist, you can always just take things out and change things, kind of like I did with the water bottle. So if I decided, you know, I don't have much blue in the room I want to put this painting in, I'd rather have a red theme going on, then I could change the bike color to red, or if it clashed, you know, I could do purple or something. Whatever color works, or whatever you're in the mood for. So there's a basic wash in one color. This is a taupish gray color right here. And then I'm gonna add some more colors to that and let them kind of bleed together and blend. So let's put just a little bit of green. And let that run in there. I think the green will complement the flowers and it will complement the blue color pretty nicely. We're getting close to the picture. The subject right there. I have this larger brush. It does a nice effect. You can flick it around. Sometimes people use these brushes to make grass and just different effects. They can kind of add a feathery effect sometimes. Maybe we'll just add a tiny bit of the same blue that I'm going to use for the bike here and there. And since the paper is still wet, it's just going to kind of help blend itself in right there. There it goes. And you don't have to be too precise getting too close with the edges. Sometimes leaving the white space is a nice touch to the picture. All right, so I'm gonna clean my brush and I'm not gonna leave it in the water because that damages our brushes. Next, I'm gonna work from my lightest colors to my darker colors. And I think I want the basket to be kind of a little bit of a goldeny brown. So that's gonna be one of the lightest colors. So just go in here and add some goldeny brown. So there's the golden, put a little more water in there. Wash this area a little bit. Add the touch of brown here and there. When you add different shades and different colors, it adds a little more dimension than just having a flat shade. And then picked my light source. It's gonna come from up here in the top right corner. So that means I'm gonna have it a little bit darker down here on the bottom, furthest from the light source. Now the next light color that I would use would be green for the stems of the flowers. But since they are within this basket that I just created, I'm just gonna give that a couple of minutes to dry. I'm actually gonna use a similar shade to the goldeny brown for my spokes. So I'm gonna use my mixing palette here, which is just the top of my watercolors. And I'm going to add some of that golden and mix a tiny bit of brown and a couple of drops of water here and there. And these do not have to go exactly where the original spokes that I put are. They're just gonna kind of give the illusion that it's there, and the fact that I have pin lines and the dimension of these other spoke lines adds to the effect of it. Almost gives it a little bit of sense of movement, but it also just adds to, can't really see exactly what's happening in there. So, and this is a lighter color, so it kind of just brightens up that area. Yeah, I think I will do the seat in a light purple on top of the black. It's already there. And it's okay that I'm working with a darker color here, because this seat is not connected to some of the lighter areas that I would be working in. So he's kind of a lone section by himself. So you can just pick an area to work on that's not touching other sections as you have some other areas drying. Let's tie that in with these handlebars. How about that? Okay, I'm going to carefully add a little bit of this purple to the wheel in the darker places. So I think I will do some light purple flowers that maybe have a touch of pink in them, and then I'll do some pink flowers to go with that. So you can see I'm mixing the purple. I'm putting a lot of water right here. Clean off my brush and add just a touch of red, which will be pink once it's mixed with water. There we go. Add a little more water. So I think that shade of pink will complement this little bit of purple and the blue that'll be in the bike. Without covering up all the white spots, I think I'm going to leave some space for some yellow flowers and then just some regular pink flowers. Put a dab of purple in a couple of those. But this one is a little bit too purple for my taste. So I'm going to take a dry brush and remove a little bit of that color. Time for some yellows in here. Maybe even add a little yellow into that box right there. And a little more yellow around the spokes toward my brighter side here, toward my light source. Just adding dimension with color and layering. So the body of her bike is generally blue. Now this part disappears behind the basket that I added in, but it's okay that we can still see my pin lines behind there. And we're going to give her blue petals. Looks like I left out a petal, so what I'll do is I'll just wait for this to dry, and then I can come back and add that petal in later. And just sketch it in, and then I'll add a little color to it when that is done. These purple areas, I'm just going to add a touch of blue to blend it right in with the bike. The body of the bike, I should say. Add a tiny bit to the tires, especially in the darker areas. Black could be so boring, so sometimes we just remember that black is made of all colors, and then what could we see? What's another idea of something we would see? This is a metal guard right here, so I'm going to paint it blue, and then I'm going to lift that color off there and just let the blue kind of settle underneath lightly. But it's going to be a real light color here. And there we have a little bit of a background of the blue, but it's a lot lighter than it was. And it looks good to go a little bit out of the lines here. Okay, now we've got a little bit of area in here that needs to be filled in. Same idea with this guard, just a lighter blue here. And then I can lift a little bit with my dry brush, which gets wetter and wetter as you keep lifting, so you might have to change to another dry brush. The stems don't have to be connected perfectly to your subject there. And this may be where the leaves are right here. Carry on down with a touch of green just to bring that into the picture a little bit, but not too much. It's kind of fun just adding some unexpected pops of color here and there. And then you can dab those out a little bit with your paper towel or a dry brush. All right, and then just a little more pink into the flowers to brighten it up. And they don't have to be a perfect circle. They can kind of be squiggled around a little bit. Maybe we'll just add a tiny bit of that pink into the wheels too. Just here and there. Okay, and we can add some shading and shadows, and that will help with the three-dimensional effect. So let's maybe do that in blue mixed with a little bit of the purple. And again, I had chosen my light source from up here, so I'm just going to come down here and just add kind of a very basic and almost sloppy shadow. It's just a little bit contemporary to just kind of have it edged in there. This middle shadow is just a little lighter because the petal's not touching down. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson from Studio 77, and I hope you will try to get loose with your pen and just go crazy with some design that inspires you. For the last little bit of this bike, I did wait until all the waters were dry, and I came right back in and I looked at this last petal, and it was kind of hidden right here. And so I just took my pen and just made some lines there so that you have the illusion of that petal there. Now, since there's watercolor already behind this, I'm not going to worry about bringing another color in. And as you can see, it's just a pretty loose picture here. You know, there's a little bit out of the lines and this and that, but that's what gives it the character of this pen and ink with watercolor on top of it. So this is mixed media, pen and ink, and watercolor. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for stopping by Studio 77. I hope you'll come back for more videos to come.